Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe to have a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Some decent cards are going to take place this weekend, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what's gone on at the WBC convention. And also a couple other small bits of information that have come out over the last couple of days. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Caroline Dubois has officially been elevated to the full WBC lightweight champion in the women's division. I guess first things first, congratulations are in order. She is about to be fighting Jessica Kamara on the 11th of January 2025, her birthday nonetheless. The day before my birthday, so there should actually be some interesting discussions and talks going on with regards to that. I'm going to see if I can actually have a chat with her before that fight takes place to see where her head's at. But outside of all of that, obviously now she's a full world champion, and Jessica Kamara is a good opponent, but I can't lie, and this is no slight on Caroline. You guys know I'm a very big fan of Caroline Dubois. Love the style, love everything that she does in the ring. It doesn't sit well with me, the whole elevating people to championship status. Like, all right, if you win an interim title, I feel like the only time that you become the full champion is if the reigning champion is injured. So you assume you're the interim champ, so you assume championship responsibilities in their absence, and then as soon as they come back, you basically have to fight them for the right to the championship. Now if they vacate the belt, personally I feel like the belt should then be vacant, and the interim champion then just gets the right to fight for the full title in their next bout. Now, if they've already got a fight lined up and the person that they've got lined up to fight is not top 1, 2, 3 in the rankings or whatnot, or maybe even 4, like however they plan it, then that fight there shouldn't be for the title. The fight, they should then have to face the person who is number 2 or 3. I believe only the top 3 people within the division, maximum top 4 at a push, should be allowed to fight for a vacant title. That's just something I personally think. I know there's been a lot of people that have been elevated to champion before, and it's not Caroline's fault. She's abided by all the rules, but ultimately when you look at who she fought to win the interim title, it's not like she fought one of the top people in the division. She just didn't. Even Jessica Kamara isn't considered one of the top people in the division. She's barely actually fought at lightweight. So even though now this is like a title defense, it doesn't really mean much. It's the same obviously with Daniel Dubois. He was elevated to champion. It's the same with Jaron Ennis, Imanta Stanionis, like Brian Norman, and people like that. I mean, I get it, Mario Barrios as well. Yes, the champion left, so you would sort of next in line, but you should have to fight for a vacant title and win the title that way rather than just being elevated. That's kind of just how I see things, and that's not her fault. But I guess now, if you want to make sure that you get that stigma off of you of, oh, you're a quote unquote, you're an email champion, you're not the real champion, you didn't earn it in the ring, as some people are going to say, she's got to go on the quest now. And I believe that quest starts with Jessica Kamara on the 11th of January, but then there's got to be more work done, however that plays out. Whether that's someone moving up, like maybe like an Alicia Baumgardner moving up from 130, undisputed champion at 130, moving up to 135. Okay, that's a legacy fight right there. The Terry Harper fight, unification, legacy fight. The Beatrice Ferreira fight, legacy fight. Now, the interesting part about her fight with Jessica Kamara on the 11th of January, is that Jessica is the regular, so not interim, she's actually the regular WBA champion. If Katie Taylor vacates the WBA title, then Jessica Kamara becomes the full champion of the WBA, which then technically makes her fight now with Caroline Dubois a unification. The regular title, I think, can be put on the line for this fight as well. So if Caroline beats Jessica, I believe that she will get that regular belt. And if Katie Taylor then, vacates that title, then she will be a legit unified champion within the division without having earned either of the belts in the ring, which is, it's a pretty good place to be. I ain't gonna lie. But again, that's where you're gonna, Ben Shalom and the rest of the team are gonna have to then fully make sure that she starts getting in there with the who's of the division or of the divisions in and around, to make sure that no one starts, the whole email, you're just an email champion, fake champion, all that sort of narrative, because she's much better than being labeled as a fake champion. But I've already seen some of it online, and even in some of the questioning that she's had. Would it, shouldn't it have been won from Katie, or don't you think you should have won the belt in the ring? Like I've seen some of this about. So it'll be interesting to see how she kind of navigates all of that. But I guess first off, Jessica Kamara on the 11th of January. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to see if I reach out prior to that and see if we can get a little conversation, a little dialogue going. And I guess since we're talking about Alicia Baumgardner from the previous segment, she's actually been ordered to conduct an immediate rematch against Delphine Persoon, as the previous one was ended in a technical draw due to it not being completed over 4 rounds due to the head clash, which caused the cut for Delphine Persoon. She was at the convention, she lobbied, said that she wanted the rematch. She felt it, obviously the way things happened, it was unfair, there was an injury there. Plus, it wasn't stopped on any, fight aspects. It was a cut that was by head clash. So she wants a shot, and it's been granted. Now, with Alicia Baumgardner stating that she is free agent, the question then becomes, if that is the case, who picks up the fight? Who pays for it? Does she decide to drop her belt instead and look for another challenge which maybe can get her more money? Does she go through with it? Does she re-sign with Matchroom? Does she go to MVP, to maybe see if she can push an Amanda Serrano fight or something down the line, which I don't think would happen anyway, because I think Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have agreed to do the trilogy fight, so you'd be waiting a long while for Serrano. But does she go to Top Rank? Does she go to Golden Boy? Heaven forbid she would go to PBC, but you never know. Does she sign a deal with Boxer, with Sky, seeing as they've got quite a few women on their roster? Interesting times. Personally, I feel like the best place to be for her specifically would either be Top Rank or Matchroom. Top Rank don't have a huge amount of people, but obviously they've got Michaela Mayer. They're at 147. That's a natural rematch that you could have. Do that fight. You could go up to 147 and challenge for that belt. Maybe Queensbury, now that they got Chantel Cameron, maybe you fight Chantel. But having said that, do you fight Chantel for no belts? Probably not. The person with the belts is Katie Taylor. You gotta go Matchroom if you want that work. And MVP, Amanda Serrano's there, but outside of that, who else is around? I think the deepest division is probably Matchroom. Rhiannon Dixon, Terry Harper, Katie Taylor, Sandy Ryan, and sort of people in and around that region. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what she does. But if it was me, I probably would say just re-sign with Matchroom and push for those fights, and it would definitely get you a lot closer to the Saudi bag if that is of your intention. Because one thing we do know is they do like knockouts, and she can deliver hard hits, and that may be something that they look at. But yeah, look, I guess we'll have to wait and see for that one moving forward. But good luck to Alicia, I suppose. Just before I get to the last thing I want to talk about, so Bam Rodriguez satisfied his mandatory on the Two Kings card with Jaron Ennis earlier on back in November. Well, he's now free to take a voluntary in his next contest. However, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez and Andrew Maloney have been put in a final eliminator to choose his next mandatory. Now, you know, Chocolatito's been talking about, you know, facing him next and trying to compete for that belt. Bam has spoken about, he's saying that he would, you know, sort of love to do that fight. They had their spars, but he didn't think that, you know, Mr. Honda would accept it from Taken Promotions. Well, if Roman gets himself in that mandatory position, all bets are off. And I wouldn't even need to do a basis picks on that. I think even at the age of 37, soon to be 38, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is just too good for Andrew Maloney. Yeah, I would pick him quite comfortably to win that fight. I probably would pick him to win it via stoppage as well. But with that being said, I've got to just wait and see obviously what happens with that when that fight potentially takes place. But it's all looking very, very interesting down at super flyweight so far. And look, lastly, we got to talk about the situation that's happening at Cruiserweight via the WBC. You've got Badou Jack that's now been reinstated as the full Cruiserweight champion for the WBC, with Noel Gavor Mikhailian now being made champion in recess. You've also got Ryan Rosicki, who just fought Yamil Peralta for the second time on the weekend, getting I think it was a majority decision draw, which I didn't expect. I thought he would get the knockout on this one, if I'm honest, but he's the interim champion for the WBC. Why is there 3 different champions holding the same belt, quote unquote? Like, the WBC do some mad things, and purely it's all about greed, if we're going to be real. It's all about so they can get a sanctioning fee from 3 different revenue, from 3 different streams. You can't tell me, they've said before, oh, you can unify an interim title with a full title with another organization. No, like, no one wants an interim champion when there's an active champion that's running around. First of all, that's the first thing. So even when they've got this interim title they put on the line for Zhang and Caballero, why do you need an interim champion when the full champion is active and actually still fighting? He's not injured, he's not indisposed. Even if you're going to say, oh, well, we won't let a mandatory get in the way of the undisputed fight, that's fine. But you don't have to put a trinket title on the line instead. Just say this person will be the mandatory, and once the undisputed is called, they will get their shot. If the other person is unable to fulfill that mandatory for whatever reason, they'll be stripped of the belt, and then that person will fight the next highest ranked contender for the vacant title. That's all you have to do. But no, we've got interim here, interim there, interim everywhere. Okay, cool. So anyway, for the people who don't understand how this whole messy situation has happened and how we've now got a brand new WBC Cruiserweight champion having not actually fought for the belt in the ring from the last time anyone saw them. So Badou Jack was the WBC interim champion. He beat Ilunga Makabu over, it was a decision victory, I believe, back last year. No, it was the year before. Back in, I think it was 2022. He beat him it was one of those Riyadh, not a Riyadh card, I think it was one of the Saudi cards that Matchroom were doing, I believe. Anyway, so he won the belt there. Then he said that he wanted to consider moving up to Bridgerweight to face Lucas Rozansky. He wanted to try and get a full title in a 3rd weight class. So when he made that decision and made that known, the WBC immediately crowned him as champion in recess to allow him to go up to Bridgerweight and say, okay, you can go up there. If you decide to come back down, you can challenge for the belt again. In that time, they threw Ilunga Makabu straight back in the ring with Noel Gavor, who then knocked him out in 3 rounds. This was last year, March, that this took place. So that then happened. So then he became the champion of the Cruiserweights of WBC. He was then supposed to face Ryan Rositzky, and that fight basically got postponed and delayed and rescheduled 4 different times from last year. I believe it was from last year, September. Then it went to, I think, February. Then from February, I think it went to July this year, or July or August. And then from there, it was supposed to happen in November. But on that very last time, Noel Gavor stated that he can't fight because he's in a legal dispute with his representation, which at the time was Don King. And the fight was supposed to be via Don King Promotions. The time before that, Don King was ill, couldn't fulfill the duties. The time before that, Noel Gavor claimed injury, a cut in sparring or something like that. So Ryan Rositzky's just holding on. So the WBC then decided to put him in the ring with Yamil Peralta in a rematch, and would have the interim. He would be given the interim title, and if he won that fight, then he would end up being the interim champion, and that interim title would then guarantee him a shot against the next champion, or he would be given the belt should the other guy not be able to make it to the ring. So now at this point, when Badou Jack has stated he wants to come back to Cruiserweight, he didn't get the opportunity to go to Bridgerweight, so he now wants to come back and fight for his title. Because Noel Gavor is unavailable to fight due to his situation with Don King, and Ryan Rositzky's just fought, you had the situation now where they've just said, okay, well, since he can't fight and he's just fought, Badou Jack, you were the champion, you were a champion in recess, we're going to reinstate you now back as the full champion, and you have to fight. I think Badou Jack is now on the hook to fight Ryan Rositzky in his next fight. He must fight Rositzky, and then I think Noel Gavor must fight Mikhail Sislak for the interim title, or the when he champion in recess, so he has to fight Mikhail Sislak, and then whoever wins that fight will then be the one in line to fight the winner of Rosansky and Badou Jack. I think that's how it's all playing out now. Either way, it's a big mess that the WBC have put together, but I'm just hoping that this whole situation and saga doesn't hold up anything for Zurdo Ramirez and Jairo Patayo, because we do know that sooner or later we're getting to undisputed at Cruiserweight division, and we need to get to that level before either guy decides that they've had enough, or especially Jai deciding that he just wants to move up to heavyweight now. He's had enough of playing politics with the belts and timings and XYZ. So look, we're gonna have to wait and see how it goes, but ultimately Badou Jack back as a champion at the age of 41. I mean, give him credit. 28 3-3 is his record. He's fought the who's of his time, so got to give him full credit for that as well. I definitely would like to see the fight with him and Ryan Rositzky. Stylistically, Badou Jack should have the advantage, but those 41-year-old legs are still 41-year-old legs that haven't been active over the last couple of years. So look, we gotta wait and see. With that being said, that's pretty much all of the major stuff from the WBC convention that I can think of. So yeah, look, like, subscribe and share. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out the content throughout the rest of the week, and don't forget the watch along that I'm going to be doing on Saturday, non-boxing related. So if you know, you know, make sure you tune into that. But for right now, it's a Hardcore Casual out.